My goal is to try to get it done in 90 minutes. There's this guy in this street. He lives on, what's the street called? Pennsylvania. And he lives in this city.
1600.
He lives in this city, D.C., and he's a pretty important guy. Now, they just call him Joe, but he's a pretty important guy. And there's a few things that's formulating that I kind of want to run by you. This is a Forbes article, okay? Crypto price warning. China, Biden, and the Fed could be about to destroy all value of Bitcoin, okay? So let's see if this is just a propaganda, if there's any credibility to this story. With CBDC, Bitcoin price has doubled since November, reaching around $30,000 per Bitcoin. Despite criticism and negative declarations, Texas Senator Ted Cruz has warned that central bank digital currencies inspired by Bitcoin and digital currencies could destroy all value of Bitcoin and undermine its anonymity and decentralization. China is currently leading the way with the digital yuan, which some see as giving governments unprecedented power to surveil and control citizens. Cruz introduced legislation to prevent the creation of a digital dollar, saying the U.S. government has no authority to unilaterally establish a central bank currency. He added that those who want a CBDC dislike cash because it is not subjected to centralized control and constant surveillance, which is a key feature of digital currencies. Despite his concerns about CBDC, Cruz remains incredibly bullish on Bitcoin, calling it clearly the alpha in the current crypto sphere. Are you just as concerned about this as Senator Cruz is?
Every time a politician wants to ban guns, there's an explosion in demand to buy guns, right? And so talk about CBDCs really as a marketing event that causes everyone to think about a world where they don't own their own money. And that makes them think, well, what kind of money could I acquire that I would own? And the most censorship-resistant monetary network in the world is Bitcoin. So interest in CBDCs is just going to drive more feverish interest in Bitcoin. It's actually driving awareness, and Bitcoin is growing as people become more aware that they need something which is non-sovereign, store of value, nation-state resistant. So, and if there's hyperinflation, people want Bitcoin. That's why they are thinking about Bitcoin in Argentina or in Nigeria or anywhere in Africa right now. If there's moderate inflation, people that are sensitive to it will go for Bitcoin, and then the people that think the inflation will go away will look at it as an oddity. But money is it's a store of value, a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and then there's a fourth characteristic that we don't talk about. It's the thing that's not said. It's a system of control. So certain monies are easier to control than others. For example, we talk about gold as money, but you ever try to carry a gold bar through an airport?
Very heavy.
Try it next time. They won't let you through, right? In fact, if you tried to carry $100,000 of gold through an airport, not only would you not get through, but the assumption would be you're a criminal, you stole the gold, and they would just take it and keep it without a court order. Now, try to carry $100,000 of cash through the airport. You ever try that? Put it in a bag and just... you can put it in a bag, and as you're walking through the TSA check or the X-ray machine, just nonchalantly say to the officer, yeah, I'm carrying $100,000 of money onto the airplane, right? You won't get through. Now, not only will you not get through, they'll just take your money, right? They'll just take it, and the assumption will be you stole it, okay? So cash is a unit of control. Now, put $100,000 in a bank and try to wire it to someone, or just take it out, and they're going to ask you why. Tell them it's none of their business. Try to send it to someone privately. Tell them you just want to send it to a numbered Swiss bank account, right? See how that works. That won't work, right? That's a system of control. A couple of stable coins have been getting shut down. Paxos's BUSD got a Wells notice. They got shut down, and Custodia tried to launch a bank and they wanted to issue AVITs. AVITs were digital dollars, and they were digital dollars that were going to circulate on crypto networks. And the regulators denied that banking license, and it's about a 70-page denial letter, very articulate, and I read it all. I read thousands. I read all of the crypto legislation and all of the crypto litigation. So if you dig into that denial letter, which is very well written and articulate, what is very clear is the regulators say we're not going to allow the bank to form because we don't want someone to issue digital dollars that will circulate on crypto networks non-KYC, evading our our anti-money laundering rules, our anti-terrorism rules, our know your customer rules. So it's clear that the regulators reject with prejudice the idea that you can circulate large sums of dollars without reporting that. Now, that's a political football, right? Because a lot of people in this country think that you should own your own money and you should have financial privacy and you ought to be able to do what you want with your money. There's another group of people that don't agree, right? Ted Cruz is on the side of freedom. You ought to own your own money. Now, it turns out that if your money's in a bank, you're not going to be able to circulate it freely. It's controlled. And on the other hand, Bitcoin is the one network you can't control. Ted Cruz's famous line is, "I like Bitcoin for the same reason the Chinese don't like it. They can't control it." Nobody can control Bitcoin. So if you're insecure about being able to own your own money, do you own it? And can you actually use it without asking somebody's permission? Then the solution is not gold. It's not silver coins. It's not stacks of cash. It's not money in a bank in the U.S. It's certainly not money in a bank in Lebanon, Argentina, anywhere in Africa. Those banks won't let you, they won't let you take your money out of the bank. Go look at Nigeria, $42 a day. That's how much you can take out of the bank. They're keeping your money. So the one network that you have that gives you a decent chance of owning your own money and then being able to spend it the way you want is Bitcoin. So I'm not worried about Bitcoin. I do think that there'll be a massive political fight over CBDCs. There's a technical challenge. Our government doesn't know how to issue a CBDC. We don't know how to issue digital currency. The people that are issuing digital dollars are the cryptocurrency people, right? Paxos knows how to issue a digital dollar, right? And the regulators sent him a Wells notice saying, shut it down. So the private market knows how to issue digital dollars. The government doesn't. The EU doesn't. The feds don't. And so even if they wanted to, they can't technically right now without somebody else's help. But as long as Congress is split, right, it seems to me quite clear there's a large faction, by the way, on the Democratic and the Republican side. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy, I don't think, is in favor of a CBDC, nor is Ron DeSantis in favor of a CBDC. So there are a lot of free-thinking politicians in both parties that are adamantly against having a system of control where the government can decide how it used to be $10,000 was the cutoff of the report, right? It used to be you had to report when you wired $10,000, and that was back when $10,000 was worth something, right? It used to be, I think it dates back, 50 years or something? So it used to be $10,000 was a lot of money, and then they kept the $10,000 limit, and inflation creeped up, and pretty soon $10,000 is not nearly so much money. And what we're seeing is an encroachment of that, where now people are starting to lobby for the government to get a report on everything spent more than $600, and they lower the number.
But who is supportive of that? I mean, right now, if you look at Federal Reserve, here's a tweet from Ron DeSantis you were talking about. April 7, the Federal Reserve has made no decision on issuing a central bank digital currency and would not do so without clear support from Congress and executive branch, ideally in a form of a specific authorizing law. A CBDC would not replace cash or other payment options. And then DeSantis at the top says it is not merely ideal that major changes in policy receive specific authorization from Congress. It is constitutionally required. Unaccountable institutions cannot impose a CBDC on Americans. They will tell CBDC won't be abused, but we are wise enough to know better. This wolf comes as a wolf. Michael, the question I'm asking is, this whole thing with 600, forget about the politicians that want it. We understand why they would want it. You can control and see what people are doing. What average voter wants to vote for this? Who the average American that would say, I'm okay with this?
I'm sure the overwhelming majority of the population is adamantly against it, and I would say a decent majority of politicians are against it, but there is a fringe wing that wants to impose control over everybody, and they don't trust anybody. And you know, heck, at some point they would probably like to see how you spend $50, and that's the control freaks in the political sphere. You know, politicians have shown themselves quite capable of interfering in your private affairs, and the last 3 years have shown anything. They've shown that people can come up with some justification to tell you how many people can sit at your dinner table on Thanksgiving, right? And so there'll be some of them. I don't think that politically it's going to fly in the near term. In the next 2 to 4 years, I don't see consensus at the political level to impose a CBDC, but I think it's like that persistent boogeyman where people say, "Oh, it's coming," and the result is more interest in the antidote to it. So I don't think it's bad for Bitcoin. I think it's good for Bitcoin. I do think we ought to be concerned about money being used as a system of control. Is very disturbing.